So if you see an injustice, do you change it at all?
No.
It's stuff as a man, I'm just giving a hypothetical. Say you have a family, right? And a man comes in and decides to say attack your family, and you're a man. That will cause an injustice. I would expect that any man would, of course, want to protect their family. I mean,
well, there's certain levels, yes.
Okay.
But is it something that you would want to kill somebody? I mean, yeah, he's coming in. That's what he doesn't kill. He wants to kill you. This is going to sound, it just sounds backwards, but why not try to get away? I get it.
So it's pacifism. Turn the other cheek. Yeah. Pacifism.
And I'm going to tell you, I say this, my background, I was military. I was in the United States Marines. So I've seen what the violence does. I know what the violence does. But there's another way. There's a way of peace.
There is most certainly a way of peace.
And that's what we look for, is the way of peace.
So the way of peace is interesting because you're speaking English. We say it in Arabic. The way of peace is translated as Islam for us.
Mm-hmm.
So a way of peace, do we understand? I mean, do we agree that peace is something that has to be maintained? Because every time you get into a state of peace, you might find yourself in a position in which, I mean, as we can see, someone will come to disturb your peace. So what is the Christian way, or is there a Christian way to maintain peace in a world that is designed and allowed? I mean, I know in your theology you say that the devil is influencing the whole planet. If you're in the devil's world, is there a way to maintain peace? And I mean practically, as opposed to saying, I'm gonna stick out of everything, I'm gonna try to get away from the man. Sometimes you may have to kill to protect. It just might be a situation.
I know what you're saying, but believe it or not, you can't get away from all of it. There's no way to get away from all of it. But there is a way to maintain peace.
Right. And that way, I would assume, would be something practical, no?
Yeah.
So what are the practices that the witnesses say are the peace? Like in times like this, times of war. Aside from, I know staying out of it is one thing, but, you know, in Islam we have something where, you know, our prophet, peace be upon him, he said that if you see an injustice, change it with your hand. But if you can't change it with your hand, you change it with your tongue. And if you can't change it with your tongue, at least hate it in your heart. But this is the weakest of things.
Exactly. This, you described it. Because if we see something, you talk about the Bible, the message of peace. That is changing it with your tongue. And believe it or not, it does change some people's thinking.
So one last question, I don't want to take too much of your time.
That's what we're here for.
So, perfect. So with the witnesses, with the Purple Triangle, right? During the time where Adolf Hitler was genociding Gypsies, Jews, and Jehovah's Witnesses, and homosexuals, and people who were unable to walk, etc. At that time, was the witness position opposed to Hitler's regime, or was it just silent?
The best way I can explain that, they took the route of neutrality.
The route of neutrality against themselves.
Against Hitler. I mean,
but Hitler also was killing witnesses specifically with the Purple Triangle. So, I mean, like, were they like, okay, well, we're not going to say anything, Hitler, keep annihilating us?
Well, no, I mean, actually the witnesses were the first ones to uncover what Hitler was stood up. This was before people in the world knew what the Nazi regime was doing. So they went out, and against many people's expectations, they went out and declared how bad it really was.
So they spoke out against it?
They spoke out against it. They actually took narratives and witness testimony of what was going on during that regime. And so they exposed Hitler. This was like maybe 10 years before the action came to light. in the world news.
Okay, so
But they eventually they suffered because of it, because they wound up in concentration camps. And I mean, Hitler wanted to exterminate the witnesses too, as with other ones, right? The witnesses had a choice that they could be free and not be persecuted, but they decided to make the choice to stand for the justice by what they ended up doing was they did not take sides, and in many countries because of that, because they wouldn't engage in war, they persecuted them. We put them in concentration.
that kind of confused me a little bit, but because you said they decided not to take sides, but then again they were the first to uncover and speak out against it.
Yeah,
so
because it was an injustice.
but yeah, it was an injustice, right?
Right.
So in times of injustice, is it only when witnesses are getting an injustice put upon them that is it appropriate to speak against that? Because I've been to Palestine, I've been to the Mount of Olives where you just quoted Matthew 44 when you talk about the saints, and over there's this stigma, especially in the West, about it just being Muslims out there. It's not just Muslims out there. You go to Bethlehem, there's Christians everywhere. Now I know according to the witnesses, those aren't real Christians, more so Christendom. Am I correct? Because the witnesses are the true Christians, according to Jehovah's Witness theology.
Well, we don't judge. I mean, somebody can be practicing without being a Jehovah's Witnesses what they believe is to be a true Christian, and only God is the final judge. So will that person get salvation or not? We don't know. We're trying our best, what we understand to be the true faith.
So is somebody who professes that Jesus is God a true Christian by biblical definition,
That Jesus is
according to
God?
the witnesses?
Well, I mean, we don't believe Jesus is God.
So they would be on, they kind of be astray.
Yeah, but you can't say that they're going to go to damnation because of all, because we don't know.
Right.
It's only God knows the heart.
Right. See, thank you for that. Circling back to that point that you made that was interesting is that the witnesses made an objection and an exposure of Hitler's genocidal regime, but when it comes to other people, I'm not even speaking about Palestine right now, I'm speaking about in general. Why is it there that same vigor? Why is it we're going to stay out of it? Is it because, well, Jehovah's Witnesses don't have an origin in Palestine? Like, what is it? Why the double standards there?
Well, it's not a double standard because we didn't just expose what was happening to the witnesses in the concentration camp. They exposed what was happening to everyone, the Jews, everyone that was being persecuted by Hitler.
So why the sudden change of heart? Because someone on the secular side may see, well, the witnesses only said it, yeah, it included everybody else, but they said it because it was happening to them. And therefore, I mean, yeah, that includes the Jews, that includes the gypsies, that includes everyone else, just not engaging. It's like, how do you pick and choose? Where is the breaking point? Where is the point to say, all right, we will engage here and we won't engage here? For now, all we have is when witnesses are involved. That's the only point that we have when witnesses are involved. I know that when you see something wrong, an injustice, you see it in your heart and you're like, no, that's wrong. You believe in Jesus Christ. You know it's wrong when you see injustices. But to say nothing is almost like, I don't know if I can respect that. Respect to your path and your spiritual beliefs, but I don't know if I can respect non-engagement in any form of injustice. Like, I get it, you gotta stay away from the world.
We really feel that all these fixes that are happening now, which is the war, they're trying to fix the situation. They're all temporary. Even if they do accomplish what their goals are, it's still going to be temporary. Because as long as God does not rule the world or control what's going on in the world, and we don't have God's kingdom, this stuff will keep happening. So we know that the true source of real peace and justice is only when God's kingdom takes control over worldwide matter, worldwide.
So what are you doing in between time, Laila?
We're doing our best to educate people on what it is to be a true follower of God, of the world.
Fair enough.
We have, and we're, I mean, not to brag about what we do, but we have former enemies that were Palestinian against Jews that are now united in a worldwide brotherhood. They don't see the race anymore. They have learned the message of Scripture is here. It says you should love your brother, regardless of what the outside is, for what you've been trained to be.
And you have, so I would imagine you have former Jews
You have
against
former Jews against
Palestinians,
Palestinians,
Christians, and
right?
Muslims.
Yes. So that's why it's an international work.
I'll just say one thing, I'm sorry. But don't achieve peace, you have to have versus justice being served. Without justice being served, you can't have peace. So like action is required to establish a harmonious society. Even if we're different, maybe different religions, whatever, we gotta have justice being served that enable peace in the region. If you can't have justice, there's always gonna be corruption happening. And so long as we're alive in this world, we have to keep achieving the justice and serving it. And in this case, it's action taking place. You know.
Yeah, no, you have a point. I mean, justice is vital, but humans themselves can't achieve it. We need God to get it. You know, for God, but for us to achieve it, we need direction from God. And right now, like I said before, these are only temporary fixes. These will keep resurfacing until we have God take control over matters.
Oh, of course, corruption will always be here, right, as long as we're alive, but we have to keep fighting it as long as we're alive, too. We can't just watch it happen and, people are dying innocently. We have to take action right now while we're here.
Well, I mean, you think this is the way to take action, and we think this is the way to take action.
But even Jesus said in the Bible, you bring those who are my enemies and slay them and kill them. Like, he even professed that in the Bible, too. Like, it's also engraved as well. So taking action is, like, part of
He also said that if you take the sword, you're going to perish by the sword. So
right. So I mean, living by the sword is action, taking place and fighting against the evil.
This was in a time when Peter pulled out his sword and chopped somebody's ear in defense of what was going on.
Correct. But that message still goes on.
But he was telling them the message: you don't engage in violence to bring about peace.
Okay, sometimes
you live this way.
Unless somebody's being violent to you.
Right. No, I kind of agree with that, but in a way, like self-defense sometimes inevitably inducing violence. Even if you're defending yourself, you have to have. Like if someone's breaking into your house, are you gonna say, "All right, take whatever you want, take my kids, just leave me alone," or are you gonna fight the enemy and get them out of your house?
Try to protect myself.
Right, and your family, right? Your loved ones, your kids, or your family. You're not gonna sit there and say, "All right, take my house and I'll just leave," Like, no, you're gonna fight back.
Well,
I mean, or would you not? Would you just stay there and let the enemy just, invade and take your...
We try not to engage in violence. So we'll try our best to peacify the situation. And if it gets to a point, I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation.
Call the police?
Yeah, by the time that happens, they could have killed your family and robbed you and left a long time ago, like 5 minutes. But at the time, they don't care about you. Police don't care about us.
The picture, sorry, but not to cut your wisdom. The picture that I just got painted, and tell me if I'm wrong, is like, saying you were in a circle, and there was a bunch of people around you forming a circle, and you're in the middle of the circle. Somebody comes and kills every last person in that circle, loved ones, it doesn't matter, and you're in the middle, you're not moving, everybody's getting slaughtered around you, and you're like, follow Jesus. That's basically what it is, right? So the world, by that logic, the world can be slaughtered around you, and it's like, yo, follow Jesus. I don't know if that's effective in the instantiation of justice, because you're spreading these words to establish some sort of justice in the world, some sort of peace in the world, like the brother just said. So clearly it's on your itinerary. But when it comes to things that get too political or don't include us, then it's no problem. That's our call of prayer. I think we got to go pray. I appreciate your time. What was your name?
Noah.
Noah? My name's Muhammad.
King David.
King David, you said? Oh man, I like that.
Nice name.
Muhammad. Alright, y'all have open that one, alright?
Yeah, we're gonna talk to y'all.
Yeah, keep sharing the good work.
May God guide all of us to the right path in peace.
And you.
Alright.